So hello everyone, my name is Rissa. My spirit name is Wasekumagoke, which means Shining Earth Woman. I'm a Gizi clan and I'm from the wider nation of Ojibwe. First, I'd like to apologize. I have my speech on my phone because I'm not a good public speaker. And next, I want to say Happy Indigenous Peoples Day to all my cousins, uncles, and deadly aunties across the Americas in both North and South. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day to my spicy cousins on the south side of the white man's border. I see you and I stand with you. As always, we're going to recognize that we are standing on stolen land that was wrongfully and harmfully taken from Dakota people. Minnesota Makoche is the homeland of Dakota people, and just miles from here, where the Minnesota and Mississippi rivers meet, is the place of their genesis and unfortunately their genocide. I'd like to remind everyone that nobody, and I repeat, nobody, was homeless before 1492. No one was unhoused before Christopher Columbus stumbled upon this sacred indigenous land. But ever since he arrived here, homelessness has been an ongoing problem for 530 years. I'm going to say that one more time. 530 years. That means that generation after generation after generation has experienced the same violent acts that our brothers and sisters here in Minneapolis have within the past week, and that is a major problem. It's a problem because what the city is doing, what these cops are doing, what Jacob Fry is doing, is violating multiple human rights that these people have. To name a few, those are the right to food and shelter, the right to own property, the right to have privacy, to be free from discrimination, and no unfair detainments. These basic human rights are being disregarded when these encampments are bulldozed and people's belongings are being trashed. Lives are put into harm's way as somebody could still be sleeping in a tent. Lives are put into danger when having to deal with cops, period. We all know how cops are, especially here in Minneapolis. Everything about these evictions being done is traumatizing. It don't help that the majority of people who are living in these encampments are most likely in this predicament from past trauma and hardships that life and society threw at them. When I see homeless people, I see suffering people. Suffering in many different ways, some in active addictions, some not. But just because someone has an addiction does not mean they are undeserving of a home, privacy, food, etc. The suffering these relatives are experiencing is a direct result of the way this corrupt system operates. Systemic oppression, institutionalized racism, and settler colonialism. These systems were put into place to degrade our people. The homelessness of black and brown bodies is what they wanted to do, and now that they got that, it's still a problem for them. Our existence is still a problem for them. That's why they are trying to get rid of these encampments and the communities that our unhoused relatives have created for themselves. Ridding these people of their homes, regardless if they're tents, and their belongings, is an act of suppression and abusive colonization. And it's not helping anything but doing more harm. Today, I stand here with my comrades and on behalf of Native Lives Matter to demand an end to the housing crisis, to demand an end to camp evictions, and to demand funding be put in place to resolve this problem. We need more affordable housing. We need renters' justice. We need more treatment programs and transitional housing programs. We need social workers and therapists working with our unhoused relatives, not cops. We need a new system because the one Columbus and his other colonizers have put into place is not working for brown and black people as it never was supposed to. And as I wrap this up today, I just want to ask Jacob Fry, where exactly do you expect these people to go? If they can't live in public parks, if they can't live under bridges, if they can't live in vacant lots, where can they go? Miguel.
That they become families, that they look out for each other, that there is a sense of taking care of each other because no one else will take care of us. And I've also seen the brutality of these evictions absolutely destroy people's hearts. You know, they go from a place of feeling some sense of having a place where they belong to going back to being alone on the streets by themselves. Especially if you're a woman out here, there are extra problems that you face being alone and in the kind of danger that we're all in out here. I never expected to be homeless myself, but ended up being homeless, and I've been homeless now for about a year. And while I was living in an encampment, I had a sense that things might be okay. I've been on housing list for over a year, and I still have no housing. I've been to the shelter programs, but they're not an answer. Most of these shelters are overnight shelters. They don't provide any safety or security. A lot of people get abused, robbed, and there's treated in these places. You're not guaranteed anything more than the one night. You can't bring your belongings, all the things that you've collected to make yourself safe, to ensure that you can survive Minnesota weather. And when the police come in with SWAT team support and 100+ officers with AR-15s and bulletproof vests like the fucking military, and they come in and they forcibly remove people from their homes. But I'm not homeless. I'm houseless. But I have a home. And those are the people that I love, the people that support me, the people from my community who help me every day. And when you see what is encampment destruction, what the destruction of someone's home does, when you literally have nowhere else to go. My tent right there, that's my home. That's all I have in this world in order to keep myself safe, in order to keep myself protected. I can't. I've been evicted 3 times this week. Anytime I try to rest in a park or on a bench, in a library, somebody calls the police, or somebody, finds somebody else to rouse me and evict me from where I am. People aren't even asking anymore, I need help. Can they assist me? They just go right to the fact that, oh, well, she's homeless, she's probably dangerous, and I don't want to have anything to do with her, so let's call authorities. We've made it illegal to be poor in this city. That we don't value life anymore unless it contributes to this capitalist economy. And we are literally killing people. The amount of drug use that happens, the amount of overdoses, the danger people are putting in the air, evicted from these encampments is immeasurable. And the fact that these city leaders would knowingly take these people from their homes, destroy their belongings, destroy their progress toward housing, destroy any sense of self that they have, and make us invisible again, put us out on the street where hopefully, maybe no one will have to run across a homeless encampment and feel compassion for people, or the need to maybe look at their overspending, and say, wow, these people have nothing, maybe I can help. It just doesn't, it's not very Minnesotan. To be honest, I've always felt that this is a good place to be and a good place to live, and now that I'm homeless, I don't think I feel that way very often anymore. I could use help and I could use support. And when I did mutual aid on the other side of things, it wasn't because I thought I would be homeless and maybe someone would help me someday. It was because I knew that if somebody was suffering or struggling and I could help, that was going to make my life better. It was going to make the community stronger. It was going to give people hope. It was going to make the world a better place. And now where are we? We're making laws that make it illegal for people to sleep in public places, disused areas of land that nobody has thought about in forever, where they could have a home temporarily until they find some other permanent housing or place to be. But we have no place. If I get evicted from this spot next to City Hall, where am I going to go? They're going to keep evicting me. They're going to keep moving me on, and I'm never going to find a place where I feel safe, where I feel like I can do something in the world again for myself and for other people. And I would just ask you, call and contact all of your city officials. I have seen city council members stand up to bulldozers at these encampment evictions before. I know that there are people who are part of this city that will make us safe. So please, I'm asking you to look into your hearts and look at us. I could be your mother, I could be your daughter, I could be your cousin or your aunt. You know, it's not our fault that we are homeless. It is a circumstance of our lives. It's not a permanent, disfiguring illness that's going to, you know, be contagious. People treat us in a way that's we are a thing. We are a problem to be solved. We're not people and human beings who need support. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Nadine Little. I was homeless during all the encampments on South Minneapolis. I just want to say to the rest of the homeless people out there, I did not forget about you all speaking and talking and sticking up for everyone. There is hope. Don't ever give up hope. Just because I got permanent housing now does not mean that it's not impossible for you all to get permanent housing yourselves. And another thing I want to say is the people that are doing this to the rest of the homeless people, leave them alone.
Leave them alone.
Leave them alone.
Leave them alone.
They don't have nowhere to go. I want to thank everybody that's here to support the rest of the homeless people out here. Thank you. I appreciate you all.
My name is DJ Hooker. And I just wanted to talk about what I experienced because what happened was the other day they kept evicting people, so we came here and we stopped one of the city council meetings, and then after that they actually was evicting over on Franklin and Cedar, so we headed over there to go help to make sure people had a way to move their stuff out in time, because we know that they burn and destroy stuff if it's not out in time. And so what ended up happening was the officers was telling me I was near the line, and so I started backing up, and on the way back I told them that I thought y'all were supposed to be busy and I thought y'all were supposed to be understaffed. Don't y'all have some black folks to be killing somewhere? And then that's when they told me that I was under arrest. You know, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can hurt you, can kill you. Like, what's going on? So they had me on a 36-hour probable cause hold, and they were treating people terrible in the jail cells. People were yelling and screaming how they weren't animals, and the cops were coming by and telling them to yell louder, and they're going to be in there a while as they were laughing. Just stuff that's like cartoonishly evil. And what we need to do is we need to focus on making sure that our neighbors are housed, right? Because the city is doing nothing. They're giving no resources, right? We got to make sure that we have the context of what's going on, right? Like why all these encampments started popping up. These encampments started popping up because in 2020, COVID happened, right? And everyone went in their houses, right? No one told any of the unhoused people. All they did is they shut down all the restaurants, they shut down all the resources, and no one even told how are they going to figure out. A lot of people don't even have cell phones or electronics. Everyone just goes in their house and people are like, okay, something's going on. We can't get some of the resources we can, so we're going to build our power collectively, and that's how we start getting a lot of these encampments and people coming out and supporting and surviving by the community coming together and supporting our neighbors. That's what's happening. And then all they see is that when they are able to build community, when they're able to make sure that things are getting better and improve their quality of life, people came out their houses. The cops came out their houses and started going, no, you can't do it right there, you can't do it right there. It's like, okay, you're giving us resources? No, but we just know you can't be right here. Like, what is that? What kind of message is that? In the middle of a global pandemic, y'all. So people have been out here supporting themselves ever since. And these people are out here doing organizing. And what we need to be doing is we don't need to be evicting them. We don't need to be burning down their houses and telling them to move down the street. It takes over $50,000 to do these evictions when you start counting how many cops that they have here, right? Because at the eviction I was at, there was 50 to 75 cops there. But they're supposed to be busy, right? They're supposed to be understaffed, right? But they're spending all their resources out here to evict these people that are doing anything. And what we know is going to happen is that we're going to go down the street and we're going to do it again. So there's a waste of taxpayer dollars. Where's the solution? Telling people to move down the street is not a solution, and it's not one if it costs the taxpayers $50,000. What we need them to do is we need them to stop the evictions. We need them to stop the sweeps. We need them to actually give people resources. I went to the resource page yesterday. The resources page was all electronic. A lot of people don't have electronics. How are most of the resources electronic? That's absolutely crazy. The day that they did the 3 evictions and they shut down the halfway house, that was the same day that 2 people got killed over north and they couldn't find the killer. Because they are spending all their resources making sure that being poor is a crime. That we can't even keep our community safe. Do your job.
Yes.
Do your job.
Thank you.
Stop the sweep.
Stop the sweeps.
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 With that being said, I want to say that we are asking for them to stop the encampments, evictions. We want our neighbors to be able to live in peace. We don't want to burn their houses. We don't want to take away any of their property, especially with this hard winter coming. That's absolutely disgusting.
Yes, yep.
And with that being said, all power to the people!
All power to the people!
Thank you everybody for being here today. Like they said, my name is Samantha Priestensen. I am the president of the Board of Estimate Taxation, which in our city is responsible for bonding for public infrastructure as well as for setting the maximum tax levy, which we did just set at 6.5%. And what's important to know is who's going to bear the brunt of the property tax increase for what we are getting in return. In order of effect, that is wards 4, then 5, followed by ward 1. If you know anything about the demographic of our city, then you know that wards 4 and 5 are predominantly black and brown people. And so when we're saying things publicly as government officials, and I am one of them, so I also am held accountable like everyone else and should be. When we're saying things like we want to bridge the homeownership gap, when we're saying things like that we want to close the class gap for black people, rebuild the middle class, when we're saying that we believe in land back, that requires action, not just words. But I will also say that even in a city budget, there's only so much that we can do. And I find it interesting that we don't hold the county. We're right across the street from the county. We haven't been over to hold the county elected officials accountable. They have a sizable amount of money. One of the things that hasn't been talked about is that many people come here for refuge to Minneapolis because there's access. There's access to transportation. Even though the resources are not great, there is still access to resources that are very difficult to get when you're out in the suburb and some other places. Minneapolis, downtown specifically, is the economic driver for the entire state. So when people are criticizing Minneapolis for our progressivism, for our stance on some of these social issues, and a lot of these economic issues and our public health issues, they fail to understand that when this city isn't vibrant, and it won't be if the people that are the most marginalized and the most affected are not prioritized, that means it's not good for anybody. And we can't continue to build fences as a solution. You see there's a fence there. You see that now they're trying to build a fence at the US Bank Stadium, which by the way, we're on the hook for paying for until 2054. $17 million in taxes paid out last year, this year. June, we started paying back on the stadium, and it's going to increase over the years. There is a very large tax burden that's placed on people in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis is a growing, diverse community. And the very people that are trying to pull themselves up by the proverbial bootstraps are the ones that are being strapped with the cost. They're not getting the benefit. So we can't just continue, and I'm not going against what my fellow coalition members behind me are saying, but we can't just continue to call out Mayor Fry and any council member of any area. We have to take the fight to where the money is. We got to learn how to follow the money. Hennepin County has a very large purse, and they are sitting on a lot of money. 2 years ago, when I did a hunger strike with Nadine Little and other women from the women's encampment at Brackett Park, that whole action was not performative. I wasn't chained to that woman's house for a week without eating for fun. This was simply to get this woman to have a meeting with the unhoused women so that they could hear what it was that they needed. All of that just simply for that. And the county never did end up giving that money, but the state actually ended up doing it. So there's other partners that have access to a larger amounts of money that we are not getting. This year, the city of Minneapolis isn't even getting the funding from the state that they normally get because of cuts. Those calculations are redone every 10 years and we're moving into year 10. But there's a lot of funding that people don't know about because it is the responsibility of elected officials to perform civic engagement. That is one of the main reasons that I'm out here other than support. People have to know how the system works that's failing them. They have to know who's responsible. They have to know where the budget is. They have to know where their voice can be heard. They have to know what committees and other things that they have access to actually be a part of change that actually leads to sustainable differences in the way that the system works. So we fail them as elected officials when we're not out here letting them know about the budget and what's the timing and how does that system work and how can you get involved. And perhaps these are some places where you might want to engage. Some would call it disrupting, I would call it engaging. Emails and phone calls are left unanswered. So I'm standing here as an elected official to also say that these colleagues of mine have got to be held accountable as well. And we can't continue to just keep putting the burden on the city. There are larger partners, once again, and we have to start holding them accountable. President Green, Commissioner Green of Hennepin County, we need answers. We need to know why you're sitting on this money and not showing up in coalition and a partner, not just with the community members, but with your other elected officials. You bypass a lot of the heat. That you should be getting the majority of the smoke, actually, because when we have to deal with these things as a city level, it comes from our property taxes that increase at a much larger rate than they will at county level taxes. And so that's an important factor. We got to learn how to follow the money, and we have to make sure that we're showing up in the right places to hold the right people accountable. That doesn't mean that we're finger pointing. It means that we're asking you to come to the table, the one that we're building together as a community. I also would like to say that there's a lot of really good work that happens out here that people will never know because people that are building coalition outside of government systems are villainized and they are criminalized. And there are people out here day and night feeding, doing laundry, bringing supplies, taking people to appointments, right? Bringing them in for showers, taking them to places where they can get that done. If you look at the city of Minneapolis' website for what they do about encampments, the very first sentence is that encampments are illegal. Well, let's break that down. The people within the encampments themselves are not illegal. They're human beings. They from losing their house. In fact, if it wasn't for the state of Minnesota program that gives funding to help people after COVID to save their house, I would have lost mine as a first-time home buyer, as a veteran of the United States, losing my housing as well. We're all one emergency away from living in a tent, and that tent being our home. One emergency, that's all it takes. You see there's enforcement behind us now, for what? Is it illegal to pass out supplies? Is it illegal to use our First Amendment right, the one that I fought for? I don't think so. It's time to stop bullying people and focus on what the actual issue is. It also says that they siphon electricity and water. Water is a human necessity. Why don't we have public water fountains? Why don't we have public showers? Why don't we have public bathrooms? Why don't we have public charging stations? These things don't just benefit people that are unhoused and unsheltered. That benefits everyone. How many times have you left a nightclub and your phone died and you can't call a lift and you're not from here and you don't have a way to charge your phone and now you're in a dangerous situation? That could be anybody. That could be anybody. It's not specific to unhoused. They talk about the sharps container. There's no sharps containers for people to put needles that they find, whether you're the one that used it or the one that found it. Does it matter? Why don't we have public sharps containers? Why don't we have safe use sites? Why don't we have clean needle exchanges? Why don't we have warming shelters throughout the city? There are things that we can do with the money that would actually benefit everyone. Not the $50,000 bulldoze. Not what we call the $50,000 barbecue, where you give just a couple of scraps and grants to community groups to do a little bit of work, and really all you can end up doing is throwing the $50,000 barbecue. There's a reason that joke, which isn't really that funny, goes around. So again, this isn't an aggressive call to point a finger, because I also hold a piece of responsibility. That's why I voted no for that 6.5% increase, because we're not getting a benefit, and that money is being extracted from the very community that on the other side of people's mouths, they're saying that that's the community that they're trying to uplift and build. We're also extracting that money from that very community that's suffering as a result. We are paying for the abuse with our tax dollars, and it has got to stop.
Stop! Stop the sweeps!
Stop the sweeps!
Stop the sweeps!
These are human beings.
The sweeps!
These are our neighbors. These are our students in Minneapolis public schools. These are our elders. These are real human beings.
Human beings!
And their humanity and their dignity should not depend on how much money they make or don't make. So it's time to actually take this call to action and take it to where it goes and tell them that they need to run us the check, because in the end, they are running us our own money. These are our taxes that is paying for these programs, whether they work or not. It is our money that is funding it. And so we have an absolute right to demand better for our money. We have an absolute right to expect better than what we are getting. And we have an absolute right to be treated with dignity and humanity, and understand that it's not the issue. We need to answer the right problem. People being unhoused isn't the problem. The systems that exist that make it so that housing is commodified is the problem. We got to decommodify housing. Housing was not meant for somebody to make a quick buck and to be a slumlord. So we have to look at this as an ecosystem. Public housing hasn't been funded in Minneapolis for 6 years. We've had a public housing levy that's been left unfunded. That's part of my priority of getting that funded and working with those that are willing to work with me. And even if you're not, I'm gonna work anyway. The work has got to get done. We have got to get serious. We have got to start having the right conversations. And I've heard a lot of criticism around distraction. This is not a distraction, and this is not performative. This is how we make sure that we get the word out, and how we come together in coalition so that we are civically engaging with each other, so that we can exchange information, we can exchange resources, and that we can provide love and support for one another. Thank you.
Be out here standing with the homeless community, knowing what law enforcement have done to a lot of families here in Minnesota. As we know, I work with a lot of families that have lost loved ones at the hands of law enforcement. And to stand here with people who have no housing, have nowhere to go, and to watch their homes that they've created for themselves be ramshacked and dismantled It's really hurtful. It makes me wonder, where are we at as human beings? At the end of the day, this boils down in my mind as white supremacy. White supremacy and white privilege. Because we know that majority of the people that are out here happen to be brown bodies that are out here. They come and they dismantle these people's homes and they don't have any other resources. At least if you're going to dismantle their homes, tell them they have to leave. You should be able to give them a resource of where to go and where to turn and what to do. But you come and you dismantle where they live and then you give them nothing. It is inhumane and it's not right. Our families that have lost loved ones at the hands of law enforcement, our homeless community, all of us are being treated the same. We're being ignored. We're being overlooked. They have a $10 billion surplus. They walked out of the Capitol last year or this past year for the legislative session without passing anything that could help the homeless, anything that could help the families that have lost loved ones. You guys have the funding to do this stuff. So why isn't it getting done? Listen to the community. Listen to the cries of the community. Listen to what the people are saying. The people are saying we need help out here. The people are saying that our backs is up against the wall. The people are crying for help out here. We need the people that are sitting in the legislative seats, like Warren Limmer and Jeremy Miller, to listen to the cries of the people in which you serve. We put you in those positions, Mayor Fry and all of you. The people put you there. Listen to us. Hear from us. Sit down at the table. We have the solutions. We know what needs to change because we live what needs to change. These people are out here sleeping on the ground. That's living what needs to change. We need these people to come to the table. This is not us pointing fingers. This is not us being angry. This is us pleading for your help. For the people that are suffering, and we don't need you to add more suffering to people that are already in pain. We need people to be human beings. We need people to understand that these are human beings no matter what we look like or our economic status, what we have or don't have. We're still human beings and we deserve to be treated as such. So we're asking that the people that are in the legislative seats take time out and appropriate some money and some funding for the homeless this year. We have a legislative session coming up. We will be in that Capitol because unlike the people that go and hurt people that are already hurting, there's people that are out here that care and that will stand up for these people that are in pain and hurting. And we will not be quiet about the injustice that's being done to these people. It's not right. We have a duty to stand up for one another, and we have the duty to do the right thing as human beings. These are human beings, and they don't deserve to be treated like this. Thank you.
The final speaker for this evening is Trahern Cruz with Black Lives Matter Minnesota.
America has money for war, but can't feed the poor. America has money for war, but can't feed the poor. The state, as Tashira just said, the state of Minnesota has a close to $10 billion budget, but people are being kicked out of their homes or their encampments. The city of Minneapolis has $160 million in ARP funds or ARPA funds or coronavirus funds that came down from the federal government that was supposed to be used for communities that were hit hard by COVID-19. Hennepin County has 200. See, one thing that the slaves used to could do, we might say, well, they couldn't count, but we could figure. So we figure if Hennepin County has $245 million of coronavirus funds, that no one should be homeless in Hennepin County. No one should be homeless in Minneapolis. Nobody should be getting evicted from their tents when there's money to be used. But instead, Mayor Frey and the Minneapolis government is going to use that money to use for its budget, for missing budget pieces, instead of using it for what the federal guidelines say it should be used for, is to use it for communities that have been hit hard by COVID. So we're demanding that the federal funds, the ARP funds, $245 million that Hennepin County has, the $160 million that the city of Minneapolis has, be used for the unhoused community here in Minneapolis and in the state of Minnesota. And we're still demanding reparations. We think that the $10 billion that the state has should be used to begin the reparations process here in Minnesota. But with all these millions and billions of dollars, no one should be homeless in the state of Minnesota. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Live in abundance. We're gonna close out with the Sada chant.
We will continue to hold this space to demand a complete moratorium on encampment evictions. The Public Health Commission, run by Latricia Vitaw and Elliot Payne, has a meeting scheduled for Wednesday, October 12th, and we demand an audience. We are also here to collect much-needed supplies after people's homes and belongings were destroyed during the recent evictions. The most needed supplies are tents, blankets, sleeping bags, warm clothes, portable heaters, and fuel for them.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
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 All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Give yourselves a round of applause for standing up for the homeless, standing up for human rights today. Thank you.